is an advanced weapons system used by the Tenno in their missions throughout the Origin system. Today I actually want to talk a little bit about some information that came to light under DevStream 110. Now, anyone who was paying attention to it might have caught this little bit of information about the new questline coming out, the Sacrifice. So apparently, the Sacrifice is supposed to be a questline all about information on the Warframes. How they're built, how they're made, what's inside them, what makes a Warframe. A lot of people just assume that the Warframes themselves are in some way, shape, or form infested. That seems to be the going theory, that we have infested Technocyte virus inside of us somehow. While I don't completely think that this is wrong, I don't think it's exactly correct either. It could be that we are controlling or manipulating or somehow making the infestation docile through our transference, through our void properties. And this thought can even be supported by information directly from the Codex, referencing Rhino Prime. The Rhino Prime Codex entry states, "Red lights flashing on stark white walls. Davis is running ahead of me, dropping his notes. We are running for our lives. The fear gives me a strange perspective. I'm out of body. I've forgotten how I got here. I don't recognize this place." David and I slam, pinned against the cell door. He shouts at me. I give him a dumb look. I can't hear him, the sirens, anything, only the muffled throb of terror in my head. I turn away from Davis, down the hall, and I see it. The hulking mass, flickering red, glinting like steel and fresh blood. Its skin changes, flowing like mercury when I'm blinded by the sudden muzzle flashes. They do no good. The beast surges forward, and the security men become crimson mist and gore. I'm a statue, a cornered animal. A gate opens inside of me, and recognition floods in. I've seen this monster before. I've cut its shell and eviscerated its brothers. I've given it pain and measured its response. I've crafted and rejected countless like it, but I've never seen this beast so close. Without a shield, without restraints. I've never seen it free. I know I will die, so I just watch with curious acceptance. The beast squats down, shoveling a heap of gore into its mouth. It is watching me with vague eyes, a sense of recognition, ancestral memory. It knows who I am and what I've done. It rears up like a bear and roars, shattering the lights, casting us into darkness. I can hear it lumbering toward me, its metal fingers rending the walls, but I know I am dead. I close my eyes and stand ready to pay. I feel a pull on my arm and realize that Davis has gotten the cell open. He tugs me into the cell beyond, and I fall on my back. I see Davis standing in the door, waiting as the monster tears toward us. Suddenly I could live through this. I shout, "Davis, close the goddamn door!" But he shakes his head, eyes wide as moons, and he shouts, "Watch!" over the roaring and rending of metal. Then silence. Davis is panting. Laughing? The beast fills the doorway, inches from him, dripping in blood, but still without violence. It stands there, looking at its hands. Davis whispers, "No one would have believed me." I crawl up the wall to stand, opposite the door. I've never seen this cell. A cold place, an array of shelves. A morgue? Where are we, Davis? This is where they keep them, the ones from the Zariman. I'm thrown. What was the Zariman? The ship that never returned? Davis, what's going on? Davis turns to me, a smile forming. What's going on is... He turns his back to the beast, now silent and calm. Big, fat promotion. Presumably this beast is Rhino Prime. Rhino Prime is running through destroying everything on a rampant rage. Nothing can control him. There is no Tenno, there is no transference. Nothing is holding him back from destroying everything. And judging from how it's written, it's very easy to see how this beast, shoving heaps of flesh, blood, gore into its gaping maw, can be seen as infested. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that. Now, let's look at things chronologically, starting way back in the Old War before the Tenno. The Orokin Empire was losing to the Sentients. Nothing was working aside from conventional weapons, and they needed soldiers. The Grineer clones and the Dax were not enough to hold off the Sentients, so they started researching and experimenting with something called Technocyte. Now we know Technocyte as the Technocyte infestation, the infested. But what if the infested is only a single strain of the Technocyte, and the Technocyte itself is not quite as corrupt as the infested? Now the wiki says that Technocyte was a biological pathogen that they had created, but it seems that most of it would have been rediverted to this Warframe project, the War Platform project. However, while they may have succeeded in creating these warriors, these golems, with the Technocyte, they had no way of controlling them. The pathogen went wild, destroying and consuming whatever was in its path. And that's what happened with Rhino Prime. In their haste to flee these bioengineered golems that had broken free of its bond, 2 of those researchers found that cell containing the Tenno. Just outside the doorway that golem stopped, frozen and blood-soaked. I think this was the discovery that caused the Orokin to put more effort into Margulis's research. Now, for those of you who don't know, Margulis is the Archimedean responsible for developing transference. She was using transference to try and help the Tenno adapt to their powers and use them for something other than destruction. If the Orokin took interest in Margulis's research, it is possible that she could not keep up with their desired progress. After all, they were hard-pressed by the sentient assault. They likely would have been the ones to prompt her to recruit Sylvanas. Sylvanas was an expert in infested biology, and at the time of the Old War, she was currently looking into figuring out how to cleanse the Earth of the Orokin corruption, return the Earth to its old image. Both Sylvanas and Margulis were later pressured into building and creating Warframes. But why would they have needed someone who was an expert in infested biology? Because she alone would have the knowledge on how to keep the infestation, the Technocyte, dormant until it could be pacified by the void energies. If this is the case, then we know that the Warframes were created using the Technocyte virus, or rather using a dormant strain of it. And the children of Zariman, the Tenno, are able to manipulate, at the very least, the base form or the dormant form of this virus. Now, we've got quite a few bits of information to back up that the Technocyte, for some reason, cannot handle the void, cannot survive with the void, or is just made docile by it. This can be supported with information from the Plague Star event. Plague Star event itself, it's actually stated that the sentients are incapable of becoming infested. Why? Why would the sentients be incapable of becoming infested? Before they encountered the infestation, they had already been through and traveled through the void. When the infestation tried taking over the Orokin Empire, they fought it using cascade bombs. Now, those cascade bombs flooded the area with void energy, destroying all forms of organic life. So with this, we know that void energy is toxic to the infestation. It will pacify and kill the infestation. It won't be able to continue its lifespan unless it's ancient, perhaps. Maybe the ancient healers, the ancient infestation, can still manage to survive it somehow. Now, if you were to go to the Void, say Mott, you're not going to find any traces of infestation aside from the ancient healers. Why? The ancient healers are subject to the same mind control that the Grineer and the Corpus have had to undergo. They have that neural security system installed in their head. Now, looking at how each of these infested ancients behaves, they don't behave like the rest of the infested. They don't seem to hunger anymore. They roam aimlessly, purging any life that isn't authorized to be on that ship. They go through and they remove it. There's no sense, no signs of infestation, no pustules, nothing like is even on our ship. The infestation that's on the ship, after you've talked to it with Nidus, it's not hostile. It doesn't share the same hive mind that the rest of the infestation does. So, what if it, just like the infestation of Nidus, just like the infestation of the ancient healers, is just made docile by our void energy? That would be why the golem, Rhino Prime, being internally made of infestation, of Technocyte, would have stopped. Because it was pacified by the void. This allows our energy, our essence, to manipulate it and use it as a weapon and a channel for our power. As for why I believe so strongly that our Warframes possess infested tissue inside of them, is simply because of the way all of the other infested seems to speak with us, seems to communicate with us, and seems confused that we're destroying it. Why would it be confused unless it thought that we were the same as it? Here are a few quotes that kind of support the thought that our Warframes contain infested tissue. When we fight Lephantis, he has two quotes that kind of stand out to me and kind of support this theory. "Why do you destroy us? We are your flesh, and we embrace you. Why do you defile us?" Lephantis is not the only one who tries to speak with us either. In the Jordis Precept, the new J3 Golem talks through the Jordis Cephalon, and any time that Jordis tries to speak, the Golem twists his thoughts and words. Jordis starts by saying, "It senses that you are of the same flesh. It is confused." And then this Golem corrupts his speech and asks, "Why do you defile us?" As the Golem corrupts his speech, it also says, "Embrace us. We are your flesh." And then Jordis, before being corrupted and before his speech changes, he says, "I see it now. You are the same." And then the infestation corrupts him to finish the sentence. "They fear themselves." All these quotes allude to your Warframe, our Warframes, or at least a part of it, being something akin to the infestation, something that shares its core components. Now, the clips I want to cover aren't just of the infested talking to us. There's various different lines, various quotes that go through and kind of hint that there's infestation within us, that there's something impure, unclean, and corrupt inside of us, inside of our Warframes. Starting in the second dream, there's a quote from Alad V, and it says that he managed to get a hold of the Warframe. He says, "I've seen inside a Tenno, yes, and what I found didn't make sense. Does this reservoir conceal some great deception?" However, at this point in the timeline, Alad V has never seen a Tenno. He has only seen our Warframes. And this is simply because the Tenno themselves have not awoken from their cryosleep until the following quest. In the War Within, you run into Teshin Dax in the Queen's Chamber, and the Worm Queen states, "My sister needs the orphan, not its infested puppet." This quote can possibly be referring to the infestation itself, which is what a lot of people seem to have connected it to, or it can be her expressing her distaste for the Tenno's ability of transference, calling transference and the void energy that we use some form of infestation or disease. Anyway, this is all just speculation, my own theories. Once the sacrifice quest comes out, we will hopefully have the real answer, the right answers, and reasons as to what is in our Warframes, how, and why. Anyway, that about sums up what I've found for this video. The next video that I have planned is probably going to be a lore theory video involving the Man in the Wall, but there's not a lot of resources. So anyone else who has any theories on the matter, please feel free to comment or message me on Discord, and I will be more than happy to see what I can find or see how I can work your own theories into the video as well. Until next time, sit vobiscum vacui. May the void be with you.